Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the McGonagall Boxing Podcast. Let's get straight down to it, shall we? So I really cannot decide right now, I'll be honest with you. Kellbrook, Amirkhan. All I'm hearing is it's 5 years too late, 6 years too late. Yes, but let's be honest, it's still a huge fight. And like many, I'm swaying. I'm between Brook 1 minute, Khan the next, Brook 1 minute, Khan the next. Because they're both past their best. We know that. The question is, in 2022, who has deteriorated the quickest? That's the bottom line. Now, we know when you're on a slide, you can go quickly. We want to know how much Amirkhan's deteriorated over Kellbrook, because that will tell us a lot. I also think tactics will come into play. Now, if you're looking at Amirkhan, he's taking himself away back to the States. He's training with Terence Crawford and that team. That's going to benefit him. Now, has he got the ability to switch from orthodox to southpaw like Crawford did? If he has, and if he has got the skills to stay out of range, like in and out on the discipline, he can beat Brook. There's no question about it, because I do tend to agree with Amirkhan that Kellbrook punch resistance is going. There's no doubt about it. It's 7-8 years ago. There's no chance Crawford knocks Brook out. No chance. He knocked him out with a jab. He knocked him out with a jab, didn't see him coming as well. So his reflexes and speed are starting to go. However, so are Khan's. Let's not forget that he got stopped by Crawford. Let's be honest, he wanted a way out. He got dropped in the first round, showed heart to get up, but pretty much wanted a way out after round 6. So you've got to look at this. Both are showing punch resistance weaknesses. So it could be a case whoever catches who first gets stopped. But I think, looking at it, I mean, Brook is going to be the pressure fighter. I think he's going to look to try and walk Khan down. And obviously Khan needs to be, like, I know it's easier said than done, but almost like prime Khan, in and out, dancing around, fast feet, bang, bang, and catch Brook in the way in. If he can actually stop Brook, and I think people will be surprised to hear that, because Amirkhan, as we know, is not known as a knockout artist. But listen, if Terence Crawford can stop Kellbrook with a jab, Amirkhan can certainly stop him with a flush right if he catches him. For Brook, obviously what he's got to do is close the distance. He's got to get Khan into a firefight, which we all know is Khan's big weakness. He seems to revert to type. He can't stay focused enough for a 12-round disciplined performance, aka Canelo, Garcia. And, ultimately, he pays the price for that. Now, if Brook can get him into that fight, then there's only one winner as far as I'm concerned, because although Khan's got the faster hands, Brook possesses the timing and power. And if they're in a trade-off, ultimately Brook's going to land flush and stop Khan. But I've got to be honest with you. Now, I'm impressed that Brook's back with Ingle. He's been training. He's taken himself over to Spain over Christmas, cycling the mountains. He looks focused. But you have to wonder, is the lifestyle? We know Brook's a bit of a party boy. He's been partying in and out for the last 2 years. Is it going to catch up with him? I've got a funny feeling it is going to. I've got a feeling that you can't train hard for 7 weeks and mess around for 20 months. Ultimately, that's what Kellbrook's done. I think he's got 1 foot out, and I think he's looking at this as a sign-out fight. That's what it is. He's not interested in anything else. This is a big grudge match, but it's also a big payday for him. And I think ultimately, Amirkhan's talking about going on after this, and I think that could make a difference. I think, if I put a gun to my head now, excuse the phrase, it's going to be Khan who gets the win. They've both been out the ring for a long time. Obviously, Brook's been fighting once a year, if you look at his record, pretty much for the last 4 or 5 years. And obviously he was last active over a year ago against Crawford. Amirkhan, but at least, Brook has had that sort of high-level competition, but then Amir Khan sparring with Crawford every day. So that also makes a difference. I think Amir Khan, obviously, similar time out of the ring, about a year. If you look at his competition recently, obviously it's nowhere near what Kellbrook's is. So he's fought Dilly Bibb, literally, nearly 18 months ago. And before that, it was Terence Crawford, which has come up to 2 years ago. So he's been out a long time, Khan. And that ultimately could, prove to be his undoing. Because, timing, speed, ring rust. But I just got a feeling, I think he's winning the mental battle, Khan. And I think, at this age, I know ring inactivity is not a good thing, but I think, at this age, resting up a little bit because, he was fighting hard battles after hard battles. Probably not going to be the end of the world for Amir Khan. I don't think he's going to reinvent the wheel. I think he's just going to sharpen his tools. It's a very close fight. Listen, I can see kellbrook, winning ultimately. If he wins, I wouldn't be shocked. I can see Amir Khan winning, but ultimately, I think I'm just going to give it to Khan. I really am. I think he's winning the mind battles. I think he's going to be sharp enough, training with the best fighter for me on the planet, for the last 8 to 10 weeks. And they obviously know how to beat Brook. I wouldn't be surprised if they start training Khan in a variety of tactics. Can he switch from orthodox to southpaw? I don't know if he can do that, but certainly he's the right guys if he can, because obviously the angles all change and Brook becomes acceptable to a southpaw. That's been evident throughout his career, and Crawford obviously sussed that early, so after the first couple of rounds. But Brook looked good against Crawford though, there's no question about it. He looked very solid. I had him up after the first 3 rounds, and that's why Crawford made the change. His ring IQ is brilliant, and obviously after that, it was plain sailing for him in round 4. He dominated the round and stopped him. But so Brook's shown me he's still got a lot left at world class level. I just think though that this is so personal that, and he keeps saying he's going to keep his cool, but I think I think if Khan starts winning the first couple of rounds, Brook could start losing his head and losing his heart. I think he could start getting wound up, and as more the fight goes on, I think he could lose his discipline. I know Ingle will be screaming at him in the corner, but you have to question with Brook's last fight, has he got the hunger of, say, a Brook against Sean Porter 7-8 years ago? I don't know. Ultimately, I think Khan, people say Brook wants it more. I'm not sure about that. I think this is a big legacy fight for Amir Khan with all his endorsements, his brands. He wants to win this fight. Make no mistake about it. And he's talked about carrying on, fighting for one more last title, a couple more big fights. So for me, I'm going to go with Khan. And I think it could be a stoppage. I think it could be a TKO. I think it could be a corner pullout around 6 or 7, maybe 8. I think in their middle rounds, I think Brook, his speed's going to go a bit. I think he's going to see a decline in the ring. I think Amir Khan will ultimately prevail. I just think he's not going to get caught by Brook. I think he's going to be savvy enough, focused enough. He's got a brilliant trainer in his corner who'll shout at him, keep him focused, and I think he's going to slowly pepper Brook to death, rock him. I think he'll buzz him as well, with combinations with Brook getting desperate, rocking in, and I think around the 7 or 8 mark, Brook, obviously with his bad orbital bones already, he's going to be beaten, bloodied, battered, and I think Ingle's going to call it. He's going to wave it off, and I think that will spell the end of Brook's career, and I think Khan will get his victory. I don't think it'll be a very popular one. Let's be honest, I think most people will want Brook to win in Manchester Saturday night. I certainly will be cheering for Brook. I'm a big Brook fan, but I don't think it's going to go his way. I think not living the life. And people say about Amirkhan not living the life, but I don't think he's as much as a party boy as Brook has been. And you know, both of them could have been better, I think, these last 3-4 years. They've had stellar careers, but let's be honest, both of them have been on a slow, steady downward spiral. And I think ultimately it's going to catch up with Brook more than it will catch Khan up. And obviously, they know each other's styles. You know, Brook's going to be looking to walk Khan down. You know, he can hit with both hands, but obviously he's looking for that right hand. And Khan is, he can fight off the back foot. It's going to be in and out. But I think he's going to start peppering Brook. And I think the key for Khan is not to get too brave as he has success early on. Don't walk into anything stupidly like he did with Canelo's style. Keep disciplined, and I think eventually, Khan's speed is still impressive, even though it's not what it was. And I think it's going to be too much. And like I say, I think that will spell the end of Brook's career. But listen, it all depends on focus, tactics. If Khan doesn't do what I think he's going to do, or he loses his head, or gets overconfident, then Brook can easily catch him early on. But I think as the later the fight goes on, I think Khan takes over. So I think Brook has to try and stop Khan within the first 5 rounds. He's more capable of doing that if Khan loses his head. But if Khan fights discipline and focus, for me, it has to be Khan. And I think that will spell the end of Brook's career, and Khan will go on for one last title shot. I don't think he wants any part of Conor Benn, but he might try and target Porter. He might try and target Ugas. He might even have a crack at Errol Spence for a world title. That's what I can see Khan doing. I can't wait for Manchester Saturday night, though. Yes, it's a fight that should happen 5 years ago. I get all that talk, but it's still heated. It's still a big fight. There's still big names. Let's get it on. Amirkhan, for me, though, gets the win.